Welcome back to the Zach Djellab channel, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys are doing well. Joining me today is my lover, Henry Hill. How you doing, buddy?
Does feel like we've eloped from our previous employment and are just on the run together. So yeah,
I'm one of your clients.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, previously on this, people have told me I look quite tired, so I'm gonna really perk up today. So yeah, just for you guys at home.
Well, Patrick Van Straten, who is going to be on this a lot more, but he's just had his brand new kid, his brand new child.
Just had his brand new kid.
She's just been born. So congratulations to Patrick, and obviously going to give him as much time as he wants until when he's ready. He'll be back here as well, joining us. And you know what? I couldn't get another guest actually because yesterday we were busy shooting with a bunch of other people. You might have seen it on my Instagram for some big videos that are going to come out over the next couple of weeks. So get ready for that is what I will say. They were definitely good fun. So it's me and Henry today, and we're going to be chatting a little bit about the midweek Premier League fixtures. Obviously, this will come out on a Friday. We're going to shoot this on Thursday morning. So Manchester United's game hasn't happened. Neither has West Ham's. But some big games have happened already, and we've got to start off with Chelsea, Liverpool, Chelsea. It was at Anfield. This was Liverpool's first game at home, especially in the Premier League, after the big Jurgen Klopp news that he's leaving. Obviously, on Monday, I put out a video with Lawrence McKenna and Kieran Carlin talking more about Klopp and stuff like that, and we can obviously dive into that as well. But God, you definitely felt it, at least from home. Anfield was fantastic. It was so loud. But also, it felt like the players, I don't know, maybe just because they are so good, but it felt like the players were playing for a little bit extra as well now.
Yeah.
That's public knowledge. What do you think?
They're in the final of the Carabao Cup.
Against Chelsea.
Desperately beating Fulham against Chelsea. Top of the Premier League. Are they still in the FA Cup? I assume they are.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, they beat Norwich.
They are doing so well at the moment. And yeah, they really do have a lot to play for. I'm sure you touched on it on Monday, but this does feel like the end of the era, especially with Van Dijk saying he might be tempted to leave. I think Salah is going to leave at some point, and if they can get in a great manager, I'm pretty optimistic of their continuation. But this is the final kind of throw of the dice in the Jurgen Klopp era, and I think to honour him with another league title certainly is as much as he deserves, or as least as he deserves. I'm not sure. Anyway, he definitely deserves it, is what I'm saying. So yeah, I agree with what you're saying, but also I'm sorry to say it, like they should be beating Chelsea. It wasn't
a good performance from Chelsea at all.
That's not kind of the debate. I feel sorry for the penalty decision. I think that the tackle on Gallagher, we've seen penalties given for way less than that. I can't quite understand how, if it's like two people and he brushes his toe and you go, well, there is contact, so it's a penalty. But almost because he's like bundling his way through a selection of players, it's suddenly like not deemed the appropriate contact. So I do feel sorry for that. But you can't base, you lost 4-1. Like you can't base a whole game around a single decision, in my opinion. And yeah, Chelsea kind of got steamrolled. And fair play to the right back, Bradley.
Bradley. It was incredible.
Phenomenal game. And just, they're so good at producing right backs, aren't they?
Liverpool.
Liverpool.
I mean, Trent came on as well, which was really interesting, which was nice to kind of see him kind of return. But I mean, it might kind of move into the like future of him kind of going into midfield with someone like Conor Bradley.
I agree.
Because Conor Bradley was exceptional. He was definitely man of the match. I think, look, Chelsea were definitely poor. There's no doubt about it. It's just, how does that game go if Chelsea get a penalty when it's 0-0? And again, they might not score it. Liverpool got a penalty, right? And they missed that. They might not score it, but say Chelsea do go 1-0 up. How does that change the tie? Then there is the second penalty that is given to Liverpool with Jota, which made the third one that Chelsea had against Nkunku even more confusing, that they gave the Jota one and haven't given the Nkunku one. Which one of the two of the Chelsea ones do you think was more of a penalty? First or second?
Probably the first one.
Really? I actually felt the second one was. Because I watched the first one and at first thought, I can see why people are saying it. Maybe it's not. And then I saw this kind of the replay from behind where you see Van Dijk's knee kind of just take him out.
Yeah.
And that's the one that kind of sold it to me there. But I do completely agree. Chelsea weren't at the races. They were poor. Ben Chilwell had a tough game, I think, at left back.
Yeah.
We saw obviously some of the chances that Liverpool got were just from that high. You know what it was? It was just pure Jurgen Klopp football. that high press, giving Chelsea no time on the ball whatsoever, not allowing them to think, not allowing them to get forward. And any time the ball did get forward, it was suddenly played back to the defence again because there was just no time there. It really was an A-class game from Liverpool.
Yeah.
But I just thought Chelsea didn't really help themselves, did they?
I just feel as if with Liverpool, whoever went into that forward line across the game, you just got a sense that they all understood each other.
Yeah.
I just never felt with Chelsea that they had that cohesion up front. Like, how many times did they break away or a loose pass would like disrupt a counter attack? Devoid of confidence, like Mudryk missed. Like in that one, I'm like, what's Pochettino meant to do? Like, as a coach, I mean, they should be scoring those kind of goals, and a professional footballer should be able to put that ball away in the back of the net. That's the bottom line. Like, it's just tricky in the forward line. Like Sterling, his decision making at times wasn't great in this game. Should have released
released it earlier.
Yeah, released it earlier for
Nkunku.
So it's just like little mistakes which pepper through Chelsea's performances, and against Liverpool specifically, top of the league, you really can't make that mistake. Even with Darwin Núñez having another classic Núñez performance.
Yeah, it would work 3 times, right?
Hit the post 3 times.
Got an assist.
I was almost, by the end, I was like, can Ali McCoy stop saying how funny, like how crazy it is to watch Darwin Núñez? Like, we all get it. Like, we've seen this a million times. What's he doing? But yeah, I think this was the wrong game at the wrong time for Chelsea.
I think what's quite crazy as well when you look at it. If you look at that first game of the season, obviously Chelsea-Liverpool at Stamford Bridge, and compare it to this one, it really did look like just a different Chelsea side. And to a degree, it is.
Mm-hmm.
A lot more injuries in this Chelsea side. Obviously, I spoke about Ben Chilwell having a poor game, but he's only just come back from injury himself. Matt Augusto eventually came off the bench, another one that's just come back from injury. I thought Caicedo was okay. I thought he was one of the better players. I thought Nkunku, when he came off the bench, looked really, really good. I thought Gusto actually, when he came off the bench, looked really, really good. Petrovic in goal has made a huge claim for the number 1 shirt, I think.
Absolutely. What a find he was. Was it New England Revolution?
New England Revolution, obviously a Serbian goalkeeper, was one of the best keepers in the league last year in the MLS, and Chelsea brought him in, and he's managed to do really, really well actually since Sanchez's injury. I think Sanchez is coming back now, but I don't really see a reason to change who's in goal at the moment. I thought he made some really impressive saves as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Before obviously it kind of got worse and Chelsea had conceded a couple of goals. But at 0-0, he really kept Chelsea in the game. And then after that, I thought Cole Palmer was quiet. But then when he plays this false 9 kind of position, I'm never too sure whether that is the right one for him. As you said, Sterling, not one of his best games. That's for sure. And that's really it. Like Enzo, there's this weird thing with Enzo where he is better deeper. Like, he's a better player. He's more effective when he's deeper in the midfield for Chelsea. And when he goes forward into this kind of attacking midfielder, sometimes second striker role, I think you lose a lot of what Enzo brings to this side. And when he's kind of sitting back in front of the defence, maybe a little bit further forward than Caicedo, possibly, but still not like where maybe Gallagher is, where that kind of 10/second striker operates. He's allowed to get the ball more. He's allowed to dictate play more. He's allowed to play the ball over the top a lot more often. Whereas sometimes you see him kind of caught out of possession further forward, kind of maybe not quite knowing what he's meant to be doing when he's kind of behind that winger, behind that striker. And I don't know whether that is a Poch thing. I don't know whether that is actually something that is himself kind of in the game thing, like he's got to get forward, he's got to contribute, or maybe a little bit of both. But I feel like there is such a Chelsea need to get this midfield working. Mm-hmm. That I think once Chelsea can get it clicking, where Enzo and Caicedo and Gallagher, or when Lavia's back, or whoever is in that midfield 3, when Chelsea can have that clicking and their fullbacks, a Chilwell and Gusto, or Reece James and Chilwell, whatever it might be, I think they will be benefiting a lot more, because so much of it is just so disjointed sometimes.
Yeah.
And it takes like somebody doing a nutmeg, pulling off a great piece of skill to launch an attack. And you can't have that on every single way you want to score a goal, because you are basically asking for a miracle every single time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I won't take away. Look, I also think a lot of credit has to go to Liverpool because they were really, really good. Like every single player, Curtis Jones, fantastic. Even the guys when they came off the bench, I think Harvey Elliott was pretty good. Though that being said, when Chelsea made their substitutes, they started looking a little bit better as well.
That I agree. Like when you saw Liverpool do 4 changes at the end, it was Elliott, Trent, Gakpo, whatever you are. Well, they've got depth. They've got a serious squad running through that side. But yeah, I agree with you. I almost do think though. Well, you have to go all in on the Carabao Cup final. You have to go for that. Like winning that is your ticket into Europe next season, as far as I'm concerned. But also the fact that obviously deadline is today. Transfer
deadline day is today. Yeah, I think Broja is the only real Chelsea rumor, possibly to you boys. 50 million. I think it's a loan and maybe an obligation.
If we spend £50 million on Broja, I will cry. I'd rather wait for I was thinking about this. I'd rather wait for Forest to get relegated and spend 50 million on Awoni than go for it. There are so many other strikers I'd rather spend £50 million on than Broja, and I think he's good, but he's not a £50 million striker.
Yeah, he's a prospect. Like that's the thing. I said it before, where if Broja wasn't playing for Chelsea and was playing elsewhere, maybe probably not in the Premier League, but elsewhere, it wouldn't shock me if Chelsea were linked to him for 40 million. Because he's got an exciting future. There is a prospect there. I see it.
We got Raul Jimenez for like 2 or 3 million. And I know he's not great. He has scored some goals this season. He's been pretty good. Is Broja 18 times better than Raul Jimenez? No, he's not. So we therefore shouldn't spend 50 million pounds on him.
Not right now, but there is a possible future there. I mean, even when he was at Southampton, like he was so young, but he had some really good games and bright games. The issues is now this injuries and lack of minutes, lack of football. Like for himself, I can understand why he might want to move as well to get developed to just playing football, right?
Well, I mean, you would be leaving yourself quite short as a striker if he does go. But my point was going to be that at least you're going to have a full season with the same players playing together. Like that is the only great benefit I can see, provided they can maintain squads positivity and whatnot, because obviously there's been rumblings that some players are looking to get out of these crazy contracts they're in. But my point is, I still think that whatever this year is, it almost could be a positive in that this is still basically a brand new squad learning to play together in the heat of the Premier League and with the heat of being Chelsea, meant to be here when they're actually down here. I still think that Chelsea can bounce back at some point. They just need to put a good run of games together. Kind of like what they were doing earlier in the season. That City game is one of the best games I've seen.
And even before this game, Chelsea, take away the Middlesbrough one, but Chelsea had, at home, they've actually managed to turn it around. At home, they've got a decent record at the moment. But yeah, I think one of the things actually you saw in this game, the lack of Premier League experience. I felt like you didn't, obviously you have Thiago Silva, you had Conor Gallagher. After that, who else is there? Like up front, Raheem Sterling as well. But after that, there wasn't really enough. Like I know Ben Chilwell started, but he's coming back from injury. You've got a midfield there of Enzo and Caicedo. Caicedo before joining Chelsea only had a year at Brighton, obviously. Enzo's now just reached a year in the Premier League. Like I felt like there is a little bit of kind of experience missing in this team sometimes. I
do think that this idea of a under 25 utopia is beginning to die out a little bit. I think if you take the Inter Milan squad, for example, the way they fill their gaps with just aging, experienced stars, there is really something to be said for having these heads.
Well, look at Thiago Silva, right? When he joined Chelsea.
Absolutely. Exhibit A. And there is so much value to be found in these older players. It's not a ridiculous transfer policy to only go for young players, but if your squad is lacking in something, you should be targeting some of these experienced guys to come in and just steady the ship. People that know exactly what you're talking about, playing in the Premier League week in, week out. And yeah, I agree. I just the back four as well just didn't feel like it gelled for me particularly well in this game yesterday. It just seemed to sort of pulled left and right by Liverpool.
But again, I think that's partially due to Liverpool, like how good Liverpool were as well. Liverpool had a lot of opportunities. They did. And a lot of it just came from Chelsea's own mistakes of trying to play out from the back and just not working. But there was a good 15-minute period where I was like, have we gone into Liverpool's half here?
Yeah.
It didn't feel like it had happened. And that's like, sometimes it gets in games where it's just like they haven't scored yet, but it's almost like it's just a matter of when at this point. Whereas against Manchester United, Liverpool had chance after chance after chance, but it didn't quite feel like they were ever going to score it. Whereas in the Chelsea game, it felt like it was going to come, whatever happens. But Chelsea's next few fixtures are going to be interesting. I think Brentford is part of it. I think Man City are in there as well. Obviously, the Carabao Cup final. Too. There might also be a Newcastle, if I'm remembering correctly. So it's going to be an interesting couple of weeks now for Chelsea. I think, especially that in preparation for that League Cup. Good that Nkunku got his kind of half an hour, 40 minutes or so. So it'll be interesting how that works out over the next couple of weeks for the Blues. Another game that happened yesterday as well. At one point, Brentford were beating Tottenham Hotspur.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a lot of argy-bargy on the pitch, wasn't there?
I mean, Neil Maupay, fair play to him in that he's not been as bad as people thought he was going to be this year. He has scored a few goals. But to mock James Maddison's celebration and like...
Is that not just a bit of banter?
No,
like football banter?
It is a bit, but then like the comments afterwards, Maupay saying on Instagram that he's scored more goals and got less relegations.
After a loss as well.
It's like, what are you on about? Maddison is levels above you, mate. Like, what? It is, I guess, football banter, but I feel like Maddison's probably looking and go, oh, Maupay's mocking me. It's a bit, it's a bit like a smaller kid in the playground taking the piss out of you. It's kind of like, what? And I don't think Maddison is the kind of guy that would shout out Maupay otherwise. Do you know what I mean? He wouldn't. I don't think he'd have.
Well, it's happened before, hasn't it? Because Saka did it. Remember when Arsenal played Spurs?
Yeah,
and
but
Saka did
friends,
it, and it's
exactly
they're friends, and also it's Bukayo Saka, who is considered one of the best wingers in the Premier League, and one of the best in the world, people say. Whereas Neil Maupay, who for the last few years hasn't necessarily been lighting up the league or even been fantastic this season. Like, you're right, he has been better than I think people expected, but that's not maybe a massive compliment considering where the level was.
You're talking, yeah, Saka, Arsenal, Maddison, Spurs. There's the rivalry there. The English camp, whatever. I mean, look, I don't really care about this that much. It's just like,
we have spoken
why
about
is Maupay opening goal gone for it? And then anyway, they did lose. Spurs turned it on in the second half. I'm really liking the Timo Werner transfer. I think he's good. Out wide there. Like he is a problem, whatever people say. And I think we touched upon it one of the last times. His obligation to buy is like 17 option.
Yeah.
It's like £17 million. And if he keeps doing what he's doing, why wouldn't you get that? Like
this is what I mean. I think someone like Timo Werner was, when he was at Chelsea and was a £52 million striker, and meant to be the guy that was going to fix the kind of goal scoring issues as well. Though to be fair, he came in after the season, Frank Lampard's first season, where it wasn't terrible. I think Tammy had
fine.
like 17 goals after that season. And anyway, then it was Timo's meant to come in after his, time in the Bundesliga where he's got 20 plus and he's going to be a 20 plus goal scorer for us. Didn't happen. Obviously, got sold, went away. He's now come into Spurs as a loanee, which for not a massive fee, and as you said, an option for £17 million. And so the expectation is so much less. I know there is obviously the pre idea and pre connotations of when he was in the Premier League last time that kind of surrounds him. However, he always has this blistering pace where when players have a pace like he does, there's a little same when like Mudryk has it, and who's the other guy that I'm missing in my head? Luis Diaz as well. When you have this kind of pace, which no matter about everything else, no matter about whether you can put the ball in the back of the net, you can pass, whatever, it's always an asset. Like it's always something which, especially as a substitute coming on in maybe the second half or whatever, against a tiring fullback, is going to be a super pain to play against when teams are playing high and you want to play over the top. Again, a fantastic player to have. And so when you look at it, for just right now, it's just a loan move, and I think it might have even been like 5 million, maybe a little bit less for the loan. It's really good business. Like it's really, really good business, and he really did help them to get forward and get the goals yesterday. I think Ange has done. We spoke about it a few times. Like Ange has done such a fantastic job to get them to where they are, and it felt at one point yesterday when when they scored the first goal that here it comes. Then this is where the slip comes to Tottenham Hotspur, but it didn't. Instead, they brought it back and they did really, really well to fight back. And they're building, I think they're building a really good mentality as well now in that squad. To whereas previously if something didn't go their way, heads would drop. Oh no! Like in another game, was it Brentford that beat them 5-0
5-0.
a few years ago?
I can't
Newcastle.
remember.
Newcastle.
Okay.
Sorry, apologies. But when like something goes against them, even like especially under Conte, heads down, things get even worse. But they go 1-0 down. It's happened a few times where they start to kind of puff out their chest and put their shoulders up and really fight back. And they've managed to get some players that are really up for that. I think Vicario is huge in goal for them, not just obviously with his fantastic shot stopping ability, but vocally as well. And you've seen him come out in interviews and been such a great person to listen to. But also James Maddison kind of brought that mentality. I know he got relegated with Leicester, but his just quality in the ball is fantastic in that. And just I think it all stems down from Ange Postecoglou and how he's managed to build this mentality with them.
Even like Højbjerg, who was rumoured to be leaving so many times in the summer, didn't look like he was really going to get a look in under Postecoglou. He's ended up being such an important guy off the bench, and then now starting when they're missing bodies in midfield. And he's quite a stern personality. Like Postecoglou's got him on board as well, and he is a warrior. Like in the midfield for that Spurs side, like Udogie again, and we saw another wicked performance down the left hand side. I mean, the thing is, they did concede twice yesterday, but they are back to almost full strength. Son's at the Asian Cup at the moment. You are suddenly looking at this and going, oh yeah, this is the great Spurs that we saw at the start of the season. They're now back in 4th place because Aston Villa have been faltering. I'm not surprised by that whatsoever. I still back Spurs at this point with a full fit squad, with the addition of Verger and Dragusin as another centre half through the door. I really do back Spurs to get into the top 4.
And they've got nothing else to play for. Nothing
else to play for.
They have to basically just get top 4 now. They just can easily focus on that. Got the depth, as you mentioned.
Got the depth, playing the right kind of football, winning games, crowd momentum as well. Yeah, I every game that Spurs are in, it doesn't matter the opposition, they've got a chance. They do have a chance because of the way they play, because of the players at their disposal. Richarlison's really turned it on. I'm pleased for him because he had a lot of money.
You know what? He has done really well. Obviously, I think Spurs fans, he talked to them last season. I think a lot of them would have been open to selling him in the summer if they could get a decent enough money for him. But this year, again, under Ange, he's been utilised really, really well. He's managed to find the back of the net a lot more this season. And just like people will say, look, the goal he scored yesterday, it just fell to him. It came from a block or whatever. But that is a striker's instinct. That is a forward's instinct to be in the right place and make sure you are there for those kind of opportunities. Like a lot of strikers made careers off of it. Yeah. Making sure they're in the right zone for when a defender makes a block or for when the goalkeeper parries it, whatever it might be. Like there are a lot of clubs that could do with that kind of instinct or that kind of forward there. I'm not saying Richarlison is the best forward in the league at all, but it's good to see this improvement.
I will say, if they get Champions League, the one they should get a centre forward next summer. In the summer, in my opinion, they should still go in for a main centre forward. Like you can't just keep relying on Son, even though he's become a brilliant centre forward.
Well, their Argentinian youngster Veliz,
that's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of pressure.
No, I was just going to say he's going on. I think Sevilla have put a last-minute loan bid for him. I mean, Sevilla are also after. Anyone they can.
Dreadful.
But so it was interesting maybe if he gets a good 6 months there and what could happen. But no, I do agree. I think that is an option for them. And good to see Brennan Johnson. Do you see Brennan Johnson's celebration as well when he was there? Everyone's just at it at the moment.
Just leave it to Luke Littler. That's the only one that matters. It's the only king of the darts.
I'm actually Milton Keynes on tomorrow afternoon for the darts.
Are you?
Doing a bit of work there for it. But yeah, no, it'll be interesting.
Wow, well done, Zach.
So if you see me there, say hello. Yes, now obviously Man City we touched upon. Man City beat Burnley 3-1. Pretty comfortable to be fair in the end. I think that was expected. And just helps with I guess the table. It just means, as you said earlier, I think they are now 5 points away from Liverpool. But they do have a game in hand. So look, I mean, I think everyone expected them to be beating Burnley, that's for sure. Another game we can talk about, Arsenal versus Forest away. Forest obviously managed to get a goal back in the kind of 70th minute after Arsenal 2-0 up. I thought Gabby Jesus had a good game after a lot of criticism recently about kind of him maybe not being the out-and-out striker that Arsenal need if they're going to try and win this league. But when Awioni, who, as you mentioned, a fantastic striker, got the ball in the back of the net, made it 2-1. Definitely were nerves there, it felt like, in the Arsenal crowds. But what could have been a banana peel, they managed to get through. Actually, at the end of the game, I think it was Ben White and Zinchenko were going at it, and Arteta was asked afterwards, "Oh, is he okay? Like, is there like stuff going on or whatever?" He was like, "No, I love it." It's like that classic like Arteta, "I love it. That's what I want to see." He was like, "Maybe they could do it behind the doors, but I don't mind it."
I mean, look, they got the win, and I agree with you. That could have been a very difficult fixture. I actually thought they did so well to quiet down that Nottingham Forest crowd and sort of stick it on them early doors. Matt Turner in goal, questionable. There's no reason that
they're after a goalkeeper.
Forest are after about 18 goalkeepers. Yeah, that's a huge mistake. And again, like, what can Nuno do in that scenario? It's really tough. So yeah, I think this is. I actually think Arsenal have been really good at this season. Is some of these against lower teams, it's just getting the job done. From time to time. Like, people forget they are in third. They're doing pretty well, all things considered. What, like a point behind Manchester City with a game in hand, is it? Or yeah, okay.
Level on points.
Arsenal are doing a lot better than people are giving them credit for this season. I think part of that is their ability to go to like smaller teams and just grind out results. Couldn't do it at Fulham though. It's worth noting. But yeah, I agree with you, Gabby Jesus. Good to see Saka back on the score sheet as well, because bit of noise that he hasn't been maybe living up to expectations this season. But the point remains, they also need a centre forward. If I don't care what anyone says, they just need to go and not this window, but in the summer, if Osimhen's available, if a player of his calibre is available, they just need to go and get a quality centre forward, because then I think it would light up that attack with the players they've got around them.
It's what I said last week. I said that I think Arsenal will regret not getting one in January, though not many people can get anyone in January, to be honest, because of FFP and everyone being a little bit tighter on their funds. But yeah, it might be the thing that they kind of regret and have to look in the summer and go and do. And that's not to say that Gabby Jesus can't be used and have to go sell him, because he can be used out wide. He can be used still as a striker, as a rotating option. But yeah, I think I do agree. One of the other games we can talk about, big Luton Town. Adebayo.
He's great.
Hat-trick. 4-0 to Luton. Again, one of the predictions that we made, that I think Luton were going to beat the drop. They're now above the relegation zone with a game in hand as well. Doing some really solid work there. Rob Edwards has managed to...
He's a great manager.
To get them. I mean, not necessarily... Look, maybe not the beautiful football of passing it about, so on and so forth, but just getting them results now. And it's not an easy place to go to Luton. It really isn't. And they're making it super, super tough, aren't they?
I saw Adebayo when I went to the playoff final at Wembley, and I thought he was a beast. Like, he's so quick and powerful, and sure, he's popped out of a hat-trick. I mean, those 2 goals in the opening 2 minutes, that's lightning stuff from Luton. And I agree with you. They even lost their captain. Obviously, Lockyer is probably not going to be playing again this season. Good to see him back at the training ground.
That was really good.
But yeah, Rob Edwards, what a standout guy. Like, genuinely a great manager. I cannot believe Watford fired him after 10 games. Like, he's clearly... I think he's secured... Whatever happens, I think he's secured a future as a potential Premier League manager with the work that he's doing at Luton Town at the moment. I think he's that good. Very handsome man as well. You know,
I think some people... Did you see the whole thing on Twitter going around about how basically like Rob Edwards, a picture of Rob Edwards went viral because women were just like, this guy is incredible. I'm going to be watching Luton Town games and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. It went mad viral. Like, did millions of impressions.
Nice irony that something in Luton has been considered really beautiful. I say so. No, that's pretty mean. But no, I genuinely really like this Luton side. There was an element of me when they came up kind of thinking, what's the point? They're just going to... They're going to get battered. But the way they've adapted to the Premier League, the way that they're grinding out their own style of football, using wide men,
Ross Barkley being incredible.
Ross Barkley's so good this season, and he's just been given license to do what he wants to do. And yeah, he when he gets on the ball, you think something is going to happen. Yeah. He's got lots of experience. He's been around the block a fair bit at this point. He knows what he's doing. He's played around some of the best players under some of the best managers. I'm not surprised that he's gone into Luton and given a loving arm around him and said, look, just be yourself. And he's producing great football. For Brighton, on the other hand, also, they're doing okay. They're still their points tally compared to last year isn't much lower. and they're still in around like the Europa League conversation, but they are just sort of prone to clangers every now and then, Brighton. And to lose 4-0, to not even score a goal against Luton, with the players they've got going, again, this window, they've brought in Barco, this guy from Boca Juniors. They've done a lot of business of players that you look at them and go, never heard of them, but they're probably going to be pretty decent. But I just feel, De Hood's is on his way out to Eintracht Frankfurt. I just feel from their business in the summer, they've just sort of sold big players and thrown a lot of money at different players to try and like fill in the gaps. And for me, it hasn't quite worked. They're not as fun. They're not as entertaining as they were last season. I think João Pedro's been a great addition.
He's been fantastic.
Up front, but like Evan Ferguson's not really kicked on. There's a few players in that squad that are just languishing a little bit for me. I don't think it's a major issue. I think in the summer they can reshuffle and kind of realign their pack. But yeah, slightly worrying signs from Brighton for me. I just wonder if like their Europa League, that's what they're going to be going in for, because that's where the excitement is for them.
This is also for them as well, like a different kind of stage they've got to play against. They've got to understand what's happening here when they're playing in extra competitions. I think the last 2 months have been a bit tough. I think obviously they got that great result against Spurs back in late December. I think their last win before that was back in early December. There have not been too many Premier League games so far in January. I just think it's always going to happen where after so many seasons of you sell one star, you're never always going to be the same after 3 seasons of selling superstars. They lost basically their entire midfield last year.
Yeah.
They lost McAllister, who was integral. They lost Caicedo, who was integral. And so they had to rebuild that, and they picked certain players. You had a great shout at Dahoud, as you mentioned, back on Football Daily's video, that you thought he wasn't going to quite work out at Brighton. Doesn't look like he has worked out at all. And the whole Evan Ferguson thing, like, he's so young, and I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing to give him some games and bring him out, because we've also seen like players start super well at this age and sometimes kind of burn too quick. You don't want that to happen with someone that looks as exciting as Ferguson. I think for them, they've had a lot of draws as well, and to be honest, they're still above the likes of Man United. They're still above the likes of Chelsea. Again, if United win tonight, that might change. I don't think it's too bad. I think, the Europa League is something that they are focusing on. And I think if you ask a Brighton fan, like, are they super disappointed with how things are going this year? It's not as good as last year. I think that is for sure. But they are playing in Europe and, against some fun teams for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't think they'll be too disheartened. But let me know if you guys are a Brighton fan or any of the clubs that we've spoken about. Let me know what you think in the comments below. One of the other games we need to talk about as well, Crystal Palace, Sheffield United, because at one moment it looked like Roy Hodgson could have lost his job after the game at 2-0 down at home to Sheffield United. They were 2-0 down after 20 minutes and then managed to win 3-2. It does very much just seem like the kind of Olise and Eze show, doesn't it? And more so the Olise show at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, they are so reliant on those two for creativity and goals, because when they drop out, like, as we saw, who is there really in that attack? It's great to see them play, but it is a problem for Palace. I know they've extended the contracts of one of them, I think it was.
They obviously extended Olise's contract in the summer, didn't they?
Yeah.
When he nearly moved to Chelsea.
But look, clubs are going to want these players, and I'm not sure Crystal Palace are in a position to stand in front of them. Particularly, Roy Hodgson will not be the manager of Palace at the start of next season.
Okay.
Whatever. Like, I think the idea is that he would do this campaign and then they'd part merrily. But it's been so bleak at points this year that I think I wouldn't be shocked if he was shown the door earlier on. Like, you can't have that kind of sentimentality. They fired him before. They could fire him again. And yes, you're right. This result has saved his bacon, because to have lost at home to Sheffield United would have been really, really disappointing. A Sheffield United side that are showing a bit of life.
They're on the upside.
Underworld. I think Brereton Diaz has been a really great addition already. 2 goals in 2 games so far? He plays with like a real fire, doesn't he? He's got like a real kind of aggression, a Nunez aggression to him, I would say.
He was fantastic in the Championship for Blackburn, wasn't he? And he obviously went to La Liga
Didn't work out
Didn't quite
Villarreal.
work out, but managed to come back to the UK and have things working fantastic. Well, look better at least for Sheffield United. Whether he stays in the Premier League will be interesting. Though, like, if he goes down, like, Sheffield United have a really fantastic striker who's proven in that league as well and can possibly help them get promotion back up. But no, as for Palace, like, obviously we saw Chelsea, I think they're still interested in Olise. We've seen United that are interested in Olise as well. It seems like Eze is actually quite safe at the moment anyway. Everyone's eyes are on Olise, and when you are getting 2 assists and a goal in a game and looking fantastic week in, week out, this year he again has taken another step forward from last season. Like, he looked really exciting last season. He looked fantastic, especially creatively, looked really, really strong. Obviously, always been amazing in taking on his man. But this year as well, he's just adding like another kind of couple of more strings to his bow, gaining more experience as well. I think it was definitely the right move for him to stay at Palace and make sure he's guaranteed, and kind of also whilst maybe not earning as much as he could have earned at Chelsea or whatever, is definitely at least a bit more stable right now as well. There would have been so much more pressure on him to kind of perform at Chelsea. And that kind of leads me on to my point of he needs to make sure if he does leave Palace in the summer, he's going somewhere which is also stable for him to continue this rise. Like, we spoke about Salah earlier, moving on from Liverpool. That right wing option, obviously they've got plenty of other options there as well. But that would be a really nice, I think, a place to go where he can continue to build his career. I worry if he was to go to somewhere like United, somewhere like Chelsea. That's not to say he wouldn't be a success, and God, I'd happily take him at Stamford Bridge, that's for sure. I just think he needs to make sure that he's going somewhere where he doesn't have this ultimate pressure on him to survive. Now, look, if you are going to go to Liverpool and be the Salah replacement, you're always going to have pressure, but it's a bit more shared along that whole front line.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas if he goes to United, he's the guy that's got to do better than Jadon Sancho, better than Anthony. Goes to Chelsea, he's got to be the guy that fixes Chelsea's goal scoring issues. And to be fair, they need to focus on Chelsea to focus on a striker more so than anyone else. Maybe a Man City but something like that could be fantastic. Arsenal possibly, if they want to kind of do something interesting where they can have 2 fantastic right wingers.
I mean, what you're saying is he could go to any major club.
Yeah, quite literally. But my point being, he needs to make sure it's the right one for his career, right? Otherwise, I just think we could sit here in a year's time and go, he's either not played enough or he's not contributed enough, and that's because where he is a little bit of a mess. But yeah, at least if you need some help, mate, just let me know. I'll give you some advice. One of the other games I want to touch upon, and probably the final one before we speak a little bit about the games happening tonight. Aston Villa Newcastle. Unexpected this. Aston Villa at home.
Yes.
The fortress.
I was with a Newcastle fan as this game was going on, and they were really surprised. Yes, I think this is a stunning result. I'm not surprised that Villa, I think there's a lot to ask for them to maintain kind of the high level of football that they've been producing. For Newcastle, though, bear in mind they've basically got 3 central midfielders at the moment. They could sell Almiron by the time this video is out, but they're relying so heavily on Miley in central midfield. It's
just signed a new contract as well, haven't they?
They are really on the ropes, as it were, and like Eddie Howe, saying that Joel Linton might have played his last game. That seems really odd to have come out and said that. They clearly need to sell players. Tonali business has stumped them a little bit. 60 million on a player they can't even use. Yeah, but given all kind of the building negativity surrounding Newcastle and their inability to even like draw games, it seems to be win or loss at the moment. To go to Aston Villa and do what they did, I think is massively impressive. Really, like, Fabian Schär popping up with goals as well. And they're still pretty entertaining. I think it's Spurs and then Newcastle, in terms of most goals involved in their matches. So they're still a very entertaining side, which I like about Newcastle. Great players in that squad. I hope they don't get rid of Callum Wilson. I think it'd be really important to have him alongside Isak for the rest of the campaign. And yeah, I think once their injury crisis is over, we'll see a much better Newcastle. But again, they're in 7th place. It's still fine. Europa League, is West Ham going to stay ahead of them the whole season? I'm not sure. I still think the Europa League would be an incredible result. Or any European football would be an incredible result for this Newcastle side next year.
Yeah, and this is what I mean. I think we said it before, how Newcastle last season did so well. so well, and kind of like unexpectedly well, and then sort of maybe now, due to playing in Europe and playing so many more fixtures and kind of picking up these injuries, have obviously kind of reduced a little bit. And if they can finish in, I think if they can finish in a Europa League place, they would be very happy. And then come to the summer, see what their finances are like, try and improve the squad where they can, get more depth, and keep growing. And then the year after that, who knows, could possibly be challenging for Champions League again. They're obviously still a long time till the end of the season, and they are obviously, I think, 10, 11 points off of the top four. Crazy things have happened. I think that can be said for sure in the Premier League. Quickly touching upon Villa, mentioned it now already. They have dropped out of the top four. They are literally bang on the exact same as Spurs, same goal difference, same wins, same draws, same losses.
Wow.
So I think it then comes down to goals for, or head to head, one or the other. Tottenham so are in fourth. Villa, I've said now fifth. Do you think Villa, we might see them drop off a little bit now, or do you think we'll see them maybe rise back into the top?
Again, to have been in conversation for the Champions League is pretty impressive anyway.
Yeah,
from Villa's perspective, I think they can turn these results around. I think this has probably been a bit of a wake-up call. Players like Moussa Diaby haven't been at the races.
Started really well, and then more recently dropped off for sure.
And they also have a slightly thin squad in certain places. They bought this young guy, is it Rogers from Middlesbrough?
Yes.
I'm not going to pretend I know much about, but he's certainly one to look out for the rest of the campaign. But yeah, I still think they've still got a great. They'll be fine. I'm backing them to get Europa League. I'm certainly backing them to get Europa League over West Ham.
Yeah, I think so as well, to be fair. I do agree. But there we have it. Look, the other games that are happening today, I think Wolves United, West Ham, Bournemouth as well. There's no point touching upon that because we don't know what could have happened. Have United won? You know what? I just hope a little bit calmer happens because Wolves should have got a result.
Yes,
in that
you're
first
so
game
right.
of the season.
Yeah.
So I hope some sort of karma happens to Wolves in this game. But yes, hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. A little bit different, but again, midweek fixtures, thought it would be a bit more interesting to talk about the football that's just happened. And we'll see you guys next week for some big videos. Make sure you get in the comments below, check us out on social media, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and I'll see you next week.